everyone, I'm Jen and welcome to my channel. I'm a woman in long-term recovery who is also a CARC, a SERPA, and a rape crisis counselor. If you look in my description box down below, you will find a link to a previous video that I did where I explain how I got all those certifications in New York State. You will find the link to all my social media, and you will also find the link to my Amazon wish list. I have a few Amazon wish lists. One is a harm reduction wish list, which is by demand only because it's not everybody's cup of tea and I don't want to trigger anybody and, you know, whatever. The other ones, one is one for my daughter Bella, who just moved home, and another one is for my go bags. My go bags is what I use to help people in my local community who are struggling and in need of just some assistance, home from incarceration, mental institutions, rehabs, homeless shelters, etc. You also find the link to a documentary called Smack that I was involved in. And if you want, go over and give that a gander and let me know what you think. So today's video is going to be a bit of a taboo topic and a little bit racier. I've been considering doing this one for a while and, you know, we're back. So let's get into it. So as many of you know, I had my daughter Isabella in Bedford Hills Correctional Facility when I was an inmate back in 2011. I ended up being sentenced to 18 months on a parole violation for missed curfew. I know. Absurd, but it is what it is. So while I was there, I applied to go to the nursery. But before I was accepted to the nursery, there were many women that were in GP, general population, that were pregnant and did not want to be. That being said, today's topic, can you get an abortion while you are incarcerated? Now, like I said, this is going to be a very taboo topic. I have very, very strong opinions on this. I very much so feel my body, my choice. No one else, especially someone that doesn't have the same parts as me, should be able to tell me when and where and what I can do with my body. All that being aside, this is going to be a strictly factual video. So you can get an abortion while you are incarcerated. It is a very long and lengthy process. You actually have to apply, in a sense, to be able to get one, at least in the good old state of New York. I have never been incarcerated anywhere else, thank God. But when you are in New York State, the same way you have to apply to keep your baby, you have to apply to terminate your baby. So the process for both are very much so the same. One is you are applying to the counselor within the facility. I know it sounds very like high schoolish, but in a sense it kind of is. So you apply within the facility and you send it to the counselor and you say, I would like to apply to terminate my baby. She then has to send she cannot like confirm nor deny your request. She then sends it up to what would be called the warden back in the day. The superintendent is what it's called now. The superintendent then has the right to approve or deny. When I was in Bedford, we had a female superintendent, which was a blessing and a curse. So 90% of the time she would approve it. And then after she approved it, it had to get sent up to Albany. And the powers that be in Albany had the right of whether to approve or deny your decision. And unfortunately, this is such a time-sensitive matter. If you didn't get it in just in the nick of time and they didn't respond to you in a very timely fashion, you'd miss the window. They are they're very old school in their way of thinking because they are afraid of lawsuits and things of that nature. And they don't believe in late term terminations. It has to be very, very new. You have to be with like in your first trimester. So as long as you're, you know, in the first part of your first trimester, which a lot of women don't know, like they don't get to prison within their first trimester because usually they are in county jail during this time. I don't know of anyone who has ever applied for an abortion in county jail, but I do know someone that used that as part of their process to get their bail reduced enough so their family could afford it. They used that to say that that was one of the main reasons why they were asking for their bail to be lowered so they can terminate their pregnancy. And they actually were granted that bail hearing, that lowering of the bail at that hearing to go and be able to terminate their pregnancy because I guess they felt like it would be less of a burden, you know, on the county, on the system. So once you get the approval, They then have to set you up to take you on. You don't know. So this is another part of it. Like, you don't know that you've been approved for this procedure until the day of. They don't tell you because safety risk. They don't want you to tell somebody on the outside and then potentially feel like that you're going to escape or something of those matters. So you don't know until the day of. If you're denied, you get a denial letter and then you know. But if you're approved, you don't know. So you're just sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I've literally seen girls. So pregnant girls have two types of stress when they're in there. The ones waiting to get a termination are just sitting there waiting, not knowing what their fate is going to be. You know, sometimes you have these women who come in who are pregnant and they have, you know, they just got football numbers. So they know they're doing, 10 or better, and they don't have anybody on the outside, and they don't have anyone or any way to provide for their child. And they know their child is immediately going into foster care. I mean, imagine going in pregnant and you just got 25 to life. You know, your child is never going to be on the outside with you. And if they are, it's not going to be for 25, 30 years. So that's really a hard pill to swallow, like, sincerely. And then you have the other people that are waiting with bated breath, which are waiting to see if they get into the nursery. Women like me. I remember one of the officers was like, he called me up to the bubble and he was like, "What are you still doing in my unit?" And I was like, "Sir, I don't know. I just don't know." And I think he made a phone call or two, because the next day I was moved. I was accepted to the nursery. I was moved. And literally, I think I got moved to the nursery like Friday. The next Wednesday, I went into labor. So it literally was like in the nick of time. So, yes, again, nobody wants to go to prison, especially when you're pregnant. Nobody wants these things to happen to them. People who have substance use disorder, these are the things that their life leads them to at times. And I really don't want to hear the comments like, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, and blah, 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 and all that other uneducated, stigma full of just shit that I see people post on other people's channels and comments on TikTok. Like, that just irks me. At the end of the day, we are still human beings as inmates or just free people, human beings, and we have human rights, basic human rights. And as a woman, I always should have the human rights to my body, whether I want to choose to procreate or not. So it doesn't make a difference if I'm behind bars, shackled, not shackled, walking free, in an institution for mental health, or a rehab to get whatever my addiction is under control. Nobody should ever tell me I have to bring a child into this world. That is just my personal opinion. I feel very strongly about it. If you don't, I accept that that's your opinion. Don't come for me, because I stand strong in my opinions. But if you are incarcerated, you are absolutely 100% able to have an abortion. It is a process and a fight. And unfortunately, not every woman gets to the finish race with it in time. And they are forced to either attempt secondhand to get into the nursery, or they unfortunately have to deliver their baby and put it up for adoption or into foster care, depending on what their family situation is like and what their crime and their time is like. I can't imagine being a first-time mom, finding out I'm pregnant, and then finding out I'm going to be incarcerated, or vice versa, and then knowing I have like 25 to life and I don't get to have an abortion in time. And my baby goes to someone and I don't ever know anything about them. I mean, that's a travesty for both generations and future generations to come, in my opinion. If that baby learns anything about their mom, it will be that their mom is an inmate, and, that they weren't able to raise them. And that just sets a bad foundation, in my opinion. I mean, I was unbelievably blessed that I was allowed to keep my baby in prison and learn how to be a mom the way I was. And, I strongly feel like every woman that wants to have a child that gets incarcerated and is pregnant at the time of incarceration should be afforded the nursery program like Bedford Hills Correctional Facility has. I miss you guys. I feel like it's been forever. I feel like I'm rusty at it, so bear with me. I am learning how to mom all over again, and I'm going to jump into some juicy topics over the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned, and remember, we recover loudly so those behind us do not suffer in silence. Bye.